Hey, we finally got the first trailer for DC's Tokusatsu movie, Blue Beetle. We are only a few months away from the Blue Beetle movie, and we finally got the first trailer. Starts off with our main character, Jaime Reyes, who is, I think, working at a hotel. But then we see him with the cheers from his own family. He is going to try to work for Cord Industries. Now, this is where we have to tell you that Jaime Reyes was not the first Blue Beetle. There were actually two more Blue Beetles, Dan Garrett and Ted Cord. But more on that later. This is where we see Jenny, Ted Cord's daughter, and Jaime's love interest in the movie. We see Jenny Cord stealing the scarab and actually giving it to Jaime, in which, in epic Guyver fashion, it goes onto his face and he turns him into Blue Beetle. Then we see the scarab actually take over him and he flies up into the sky, Superman style, looking over the world, which is probably one of the more impressive visual effects for this movie. And I think a lot of this movie will have that CGI suits, but as we see from behind the scenes, this is an actual suit, and it looks fantastic. Now we're back to seeing Jenny showing the family, I'm going to guess, something we see later on in this trailer. But she does explain the scarab is some alien device, this weapon that chose Jaime to be its bearer as he accidentally cuts a bus in half. Yikes. But yes, like Spiderman, with great power comes great responsibility, which is also interesting because George Lopez plays his uncle. I mean, we're getting a lot of Spider-Man Tokusatsu vibes here, which is not a bad thing. We even get to see a visual Iron Man style of how he's looking through the suit. Then in one of the more curious shots of the movie, what kind of reminds you of Matrix maybe? I don't know what these are, but I'm going to guess maybe they're making more scarabs? Then we got one of the main villains, Victoria Cord. Victoria Cord is Ted Cord's sister, and she also runs Cord Industries, who wants to get the scarab back by force. Now we get to see the second villain, Conrad Carapax. Conrad Carapax, the indestructible man. And in the comics, he had this robotic body, but I'm going to just guess that maybe in this movie, he's going to take control of a scarab instead and become like this evil Blue Beetle, or, you know, maybe a red beetle. Then we get some sweet martial arts action scenes, and the scarab helping him create this magnificent weapon is, well, Final Fantasy-ish. He's ready to take on an unknown adversary with Cloud Strife's Buster. And then we finally get the scene where we see where Jenny was bringing them to, in which it's her father Ted Cord's little lab. You see a ton of different weapons here, a shield. Jaime even looks at a belt. But in the background, you get to see two suits there and a mannequin. Now, I don't know if Dan Garrett's going to be a part of this universe or not, but the left one looks like Dan Garrett's, the middle one looks like Ted Cord's, but the designs may be just for Easter eggs, and the third suit is actually being worn by the current Ted Cord, who is still out in the world somewhere, or missing. Because early in the trailer, you get to see them pilot his awesome-looking ship, which is probably also in the lab as well. And then played off as a joke, Jaime does mention that this is just like Batman, in which his uncle says Batman is a fascist. What? Which is the really only connection in this trailer to the DCU, or DCEU. And that part is still unclear, yet James Gunn did say that this Blue Beetle movie could definitely connect to his DC universe, because there's probably not that much connectivity to the current DCEU other than references. So if this movie is successful and does do well at the box office, I could totally see Blue Beetle being part of the DC universe. And if that's the case, meaning the Brave and the Bold's Batman and not the DCEU's Batman. There's also a possibility that if Blue Beetle is connected to James Gunn's DC universe, it could also connect to the future Booster Gold live-action TV series. But by itself, it looks like a fun little origin film for Blue Beetle, and what I personally like to call DC's very own Tokusatsu character. Blue Beetle comes out August 18th.